Hello and welcome to the Educate community. If it's your first time here, I'm Rebecca Simons, and this is the channel where we discuss all things EdTech. Are you tired of forgetting about appointments and important meetings? Well, Google Calendar is here to rescue you. In this video, we'll dive into all the amazing features this free tool has to offer and show you how to use it to increase your productivity and organization. Google Calendar is my lifeline. Not only does it hold my schedule, but it also lets me set notifications for events so it looks like I never forget anything. Because it's in the cloud, I can access it from any device, anywhere. Whether I only have my Apple Watch, my phone, or my laptop, my calendar is always with me. So let's jump in and talk about all the great features Google Calendar has to offer. There are a few different ways to access Google Calendar. You can type in calendar.google.com into the address bar, or you can use the shortcut cal.new to move straight into creating a new event. You can also access Calendar through the gridded dots in the top right corner of your Google Workspace, which is often called the waffle. Finally, you can access Google Calendar through what I like to call the productivity sidebar, which is available in most Google Workspaces. Use the sidebar to quickly view or manage your calendar without ever having to leave your current workspace. Within Google Calendar, let's start looking at the navigation features. On the left-hand side of your screen, you'll find the main menu. Clicking this icon will expand and collapse the sidebar. The first item in this sidebar is the Create button. This allows you to add content to your calendar and is visible whether the sidebar is expanded or collapsed. You have the option to create events, focus time, tasks, or an appointment schedule. You can also manage your working location or your out-of-office response to calendar events. We'll get into each of these features in more detail later in the video. Next, you'll see a mini month calendar. You can move this calendar forward or backward independent of your main calendar, and it's useful for quickly jumping ahead to see a different date. The Meet With feature is a great way to find availability for meetings. If you have access to a contact's calendar, you can type in their name and it will temporarily overlay their calendar on top of yours. Time Insights is a helpful tool that allows you to track how you're spending time on your calendar. Click on More Insights for more detailed information. All of this data is tracked from your primary calendar and can be broken down by type or by color if you color code your events. The next two sections list all the calendars you are subscribed to or are an owner of. My Calendars is the list of calendars that you are an owner or manager of, and Other Calendars lists all the calendars you are subscribed to but don't have edit access for. You can control a calendar's visibility simply by checking and unchecking the box next to a calendar's name. When you hover over a calendar name, the More menu or three dots will appear. Under this menu, you can change the default color for the calendar, access settings and sharing, or display only that one calendar. Now let's move to the icons running across the top of your calendar. The Today button brings you back to the current date no matter where you're at in your calendar. I could be all the way back in 2023 and simply by clicking Today, I jump right back to May 2024. Beside the Today button are navigational arrows. These move your calendar forward and backward in time depending on your current view. For example, in week view, the arrows moved me forward 1 week at a time. However, if I were to change to month view, they would then move me forward in 1 month increments. You can easily change your calendar view by clicking on the time frame drop-down menu or by using the keyboard shortcuts listed here. To use keyboard shortcuts, you'll first need to enable them in your calendar settings. To access settings, click on the gear, select Settings, then click on Keyboard Shortcuts in the menu on the left-hand side and click Enable. Once enabled, you can see all available shortcuts by pressing Control ? Or Command ? on a Mac. You can also change your calendar view by using the mini calendar. Simply click and drag to select the mini calendar dates you want to appear on the main calendar. You can select up to 4 weeks at a time. Calendar also allows you to search for future and past events. You can access the search bar by clicking on the magnifying glass or pressing the question mark on your keyboard. Click on the drop-down arrow to access advanced search filters. And finally, on the right-hand side, you have your productivity sidebar. The sidebar allows you to quickly pull up Keep Notes, a checklist and tasks, contact information, or look up a location in Google Maps, all without having to leave Google Calendar. Next, let's dive into the calendar settings. While this isn't the most exciting, glamorous part of the video, understanding your calendar settings can improve your productivity and customize your calendar to fit your needs. To access the settings menu, click on the gear, then select Settings. By default, you'll always see general settings first, but you can also access individual calendar settings from here as well. The first general setting is language and region. This allows you to change the language of your calendar, the country you're in, and the date and time format of your calendar. The next section, time zone, allows you to set a primary and a secondary time zone, which is important if you regularly collaborate with colleagues in a different time zone. Under event settings, you can set a default meeting length. Meeting length can always be modified at the time you create the event. However, if most of your meetings are an hour, setting this as your default is an easy time saver. If you enable the checkbox Speedy Meetings, it automatically shortens the length of your events and meetings. For example, a 30-minute meeting will automatically become 25, and longer meetings, that might be an hour, are cut to 50 minutes. Default guest permissions allows you to control what guests can do with an event invitation. I have mine set to where guests can invite others and see the guest list, but not modify the event. The Add Invitations to My Calendar setting allows you to control when events are added to your calendar. I have mine set to only add events after I've RSVP'd via email. Notification settings lets you customize how and when you receive notifications. I have mine set to play a noise on my desktop and send me a reminder about snoozed events 5 minutes before the event. View options controls the appearance of your calendar. I personally like to enable show weekends, but you could keep this unchecked to only show your 5-day work week. I also enable reduce brightness of past events. This helps me to visually focus on what I have coming up instead of events that have already passed. You can also specify which day you want your week to start with. For example, some people might want their week to start with Monday. And if you often view your calendar in a specific way, you can set up a custom view. This view will then be available under the time frame drop-down menu. For example, I found myself frequently using the mini calendar to select 3 days at a time, so I set my custom view to this. Now I can quickly switch to this simply by pressing the keyboard shortcut X. The Events from Gmail setting authorizes Gmail to automatically create events on your calendar for certain types of emails, like flight confirmations. To take advantage of this feature, you must also turn on smart features and personalization in Gmail. I personally am a fan of Google serving as my personal assistant whenever possible, so I have this feature enabled. Working hours and location allows you to set a default working location and or hours. It's hard enough to keep up with your own schedule, let alone your colleague's schedule. So when your calendar is shared with someone that has at least free busy visibility, they now know when and where you're working from. This can be especially useful if you frequently work with people in different time zones or in separate locations. To set your working location, select the days of the week you work on and click the working location drop down to select your location. Use copy to all to apply the same setting to every single day. You can also customize working hours by checking Enable Working Hours. You can even set up multiple working periods within the same day, as I've demonstrated here under Monday. Next are keyboard shortcuts. Simply click the checkbox to enable. Anytime this is a setting option, I always check it. You should also consider enabling offline access to the calendars you manage. This allows you to still view your calendars when you don't have internet access. Finally, you have the option to enable appointment schedules instead of appointment slots. Appointment slots will be going away in July 2024, so you may not have to worry about this setting for much longer. I'll show you how to create an appointment schedule and talk about why I love them so much later in this video. Now, let's explore how to add calendars. There are two main ways to do this: creating your own or subscribing to someone else's. There are two ways to create a new calendar. The first is through the Settings menu. Click on the gear icon and select Settings. Then, under the menu on the left-hand side, click Add Calendar and select Create New Calendar. Give your calendar a name and click Create. The second way to add a new calendar is by clicking on the plus icon next to Other Calendars in the side menu, then selecting Create New Calendar. This will take you directly to the Create a New Calendar window we were just in. Under Add Calendar, you can also request access to calendars, which is also known as subscribing. Simply type in the email of the person you want to request access from. If your school uses calendars to manage resources or rooms, you can browse the available resource calendars and request access to them. Using resources is a great way to manage the availability of shared resources at your school, such as computer labs, gyms, playgrounds, etc. You can also add calendars of interest, which include birthdays from your contact list, holidays, sports calendars, etc. Finally, you can add calendars with a URL or import them from a file. This is useful if you want to add a calendar from another platform. Now let's talk about customizing individual calendar settings. It's important to remember that these settings apply to an individual calendar. So for example, if you have a work calendar and a personal calendar, you'll need to adjust the settings for each one. You can access individual calendar settings by, again, clicking on the gear icon, Settings, then clicking on the calendar name. Or you can click on the More menu next to a calendar name and select Settings and Sharing. You'll end up in the same location no matter which path you take. Here you can change the name of your calendar, the calendar time zone, or export your calendar. Probably the most important section is access permissions. This is where you control who can see your calendar and what they can see. If you check Make Available to Public, anyone on the internet can see your calendar. This might be useful for a class calendar where you want to share events with students and parents, or for a school event calendar that the community can access. If you're on your main calendar, you have the option to share your calendar with your organization. This allows everyone within your school or district to see your calendar. The drop down to the right allows you to control what they can see. For example, if I'm sharing my calendar in my organization, I might want to only allow them to see when I'm free or busy. This allows them to see when I'm available to meet, but not the event details. Another access permission for your primary calendar is see calendar info in other Google apps. This allows you to view your calendar throughout Google Workspace. Now, besides sharing with your entire organization, you can also share your calendar with specific people or create a shareable link. To share with a specific person, simply enter their email address. Then you can customize the viewing permissions for each person or group. These are the permission levels you can choose from. See only free or busy means the person will only be able to see when you're available or busy, but not event details. See all event details means they'll be able to see all the details of the event. Make changes to the event means this person can edit or delete your events. This might be the access permission you want if it's, say, a shared grade level calendar. Finally, make changes and manage sharing means this person has full control over your calendar, including the ability to add and remove people's viewing access. Next, you can set your default event notifications. This allows you to customize when and how you want to receive notifications for events. For example, maybe I want a notification 10 minutes before my event, and I want an email 1 day before my event. If it's an all-day event, I like to get an email the day before at 8 a.m. The next section allows you to manage email notifications about changes to your calendar. I have mine set to email me if there's a change to an event or if it's canceled. I have event responses turned off because I don't want to receive an email every time someone RSVPs, especially if it's for a large event. If I really need to see who's coming, I can always open up the event and look. Finally, I have my daily agenda email turned on. The daily agenda sends me an email at 5 a.m. with an overview of all my events for the day. The one drawback to this feature is that you will receive a separate daily agenda email for each calendar this setting is enabled for. The Integrate Calendar section is where you can connect your Google Calendar with another calendar like Outlook. This is useful if you use multiple calendar apps and you want to see all of your events in one place. And finally, if you no longer need a calendar, you can come all the way to the bottom and press delete. Now let's talk about how to add events to your calendar. You have several options for getting started. Option number 1, click the Create button and select Event. Option number 2, click on your calendar. Simply click in an open space on your calendar. Clicking in an open space means you'll have to modify the date and time, or you can click on the specific date and time you want to schedule the event for. Option number 3, use a keyboard shortcut. Press Shift-C to open a new event window. Option number 4, use the .new shortcut. Type cal.new into the address bar to automatically open a new event window. Option number 5, create an event from Gmail. While viewing an email, click the 3 dots or the More menu and select Create Event. This will automatically pull over the email subject as the title and the body of the email as the event description. It will also add email recipients as guests. Of course, any of this content could be modified before saving the event. Let's go ahead and walk through creating an event together. Start by giving your event a title. You can even use emojis to visually differentiate between event types or add a little fun to your calendar. Select the date of the event and customize how long it will last. Be sure to double check the time zone, especially if you are collaborating with people in different locations. If the event is going to last all day, check the all day box. If your event repeats, click the Does Not Repeat dropdown and choose an option. Calendar will suggest some smart options using AI, but you can always set up a custom time frame. By choosing a custom time frame, you can also control when the event repetition ends. For example, if you don't have staff meetings during the summer, then schedule the event to end on the last day of school. If you're scheduling a meeting with others, the Find a Time feature can help you find a time slot that works for everyone. Enter the name of your guests, and Calendar will show everyone's schedules side by side. The only catch is that you have to be granted permission to see at least free busy time on someone else's calendar. Once you've added a guest, you can customize guest permissions. You can allow them to modify the event, invite others, and to see the guest list. If you find that you are consistently changing your guest permissions, you can always modify your default under your individual calendar settings. If the meeting is going to be virtual, make sure to add a video conference link with Google Meet or Zoom. Location allows you to list a physical meeting location. If your school or organization has resource calendars set up, clicking on an available room or resource will add it to the room calendar as well as your personal calendar. Add description gives you space to add information about the meeting or attachments that will be needed, such as an agenda. If you click Create Meeting Notes, Calendar will automatically create a Google Doc that's attached to the event. Anything that you attach to a calendar event will automatically be shared with anyone who's been invited, which means you don't have to hassle with sharing access. It also gives participants of the event a standardized location to access documents instead of having to dig through their Shared With Me. All they have to do is go to the event on their calendar. Next, you can choose which calendar you'd like the event to be posted to. The first one listed is going to be your primary calendar. You can also change the color of the event on your calendar. I color code my events, so if I'm creating a meeting, I would change the color of the event to my meeting color, blueberry. Within your primary calendar, you can also assign labels to your colors, which makes it easier to remember a color coding system. Using the colors allows Calendar to track how you're spending your time through time insights. Free and busy determines whether additional things can be booked over this appointment. We'll get into appointment schedules more in just a minute, but if I leave this as free, appointment schedules will interpret this as something that can be booked over. The visibility settings controls who can see the details of your events. Let's say that you have an event you want to keep private, like a doctor's appointment. By setting this event to private, even if someone can see the details of your calendar, this one event is simply going to show as busy. Finally, you can modify notification settings for this specific event. Remember, it's pulling your notification defaults. So if you find yourself constantly changing this, you might want to think about changing your defaults. You can also add additional notifications here as well. Once an event is on your calendar, you can easily change the date and time by clicking and dragging it to a new location. To make an event longer, hover over the bottom of the event until you see a double-sided arrow, then click and drag down. To edit an event's details, either single click on the event and click the pencil icon, or double click on the event. For additional actions, click on the More menu, or when the event is open, click on the More Actions drop-down. This menu gives you the ability to delete the event, print, duplicate, copy to another calendar, publish the event, or change the owner. If you need to edit a recurring event, Calendar will ask you if you only want to edit the event one time or for all events going forward. If you accidentally delete an event, don't worry. You can restore it by clicking on the settings gear, then clicking trash. Deleted events are stored here for 30 days before being permanently deleted. Besides creating events, Google Calendar has several other useful features. You can schedule focus time to block out time for specific tasks, set up out-of-office messaging for calendar requests, indicate your working location, or add tasks to your Google Task list. Finally, you can create appointment schedules to simplify the process of scheduling meetings. I am in love with this feature of Calendar. I can't tell you how much of my life I have wasted going back and forth via email trying to schedule a time to meet with someone. This tool is perfect for parent-teacher conferences, advising appointments, office hours, or anything where someone needs to sign up for a date and time. As I mentioned earlier in the video, you currently have to enable appointment schedules under settings, but the legacy version appointment slots will officially be phased out in July 2024, so enabling this setting is probably about to be a thing of the past. Once enabled under settings, when you click on create, you should see appointment schedule listed as an option. Let's walk through creating one together. Start by giving your booking schedule a title. This is what people will see when they sign up for a time. I'm going to call mine Mrs. Simon's Parent-Teacher Conferences. Next, set the length of each appointment slot. You'll see several suggested timeframes, but you can set a custom meeting length as well. If I were doing parent-teacher conferences, I'd want mine to last for probably about 15 minutes apiece. As you can see, it's already starting to build out my appointment slots on my calendar. Next, you're going to set your availability. You have the option to select specific dates and times, or to set a recurring schedule. For parent-teacher conferences, I might have a 3-day window of May 14th, 15th, and 16th. I then can go in and set what times I'm available on those dates. For example, I might be available from 6 to 7 before school, 10 to 10:45 during my planning period, and then after school from 3:30 to 5 p.m. I would then have to go through and set these time frames up for the remaining 2 days. Now that I have my times set up, let's move on to the scheduling window. This allows you to control how far in advance an appointment can be made and the deadline for booking an appointment. For example, I might want parents and guardians to be able to book a time 2 weeks in advance, and I'd want to close the booking window 24 hours before the meeting time so I have time to pull all the information I need about their child. If you're creating a repeating appointment schedule, you have the ability to adjust a date's availability. Calendar will automatically remove time slots if you have something scheduled on your calendar. However, maybe I don't have anything on my calendar for Friday the 17th, but I don't want to offer appointments on that day. This allows me to adjust that specific date's availability. As you can see, no slots are being offered on the 17th. Next is booked appointment settings. This allows you to add buffer time between appointments so that you can have time for a transition or breaks. For example, I might want to schedule 5 minutes in between appointments in case one runs long, or so I have time to go to the bathroom. I can also choose to limit the number of appointments per day. Under Calendar, choose which calendar you want your appointment schedule to post to, and choose a color if your calendar is color-coded. I want my events to post to my main calendar, and I'm going to change it to my meeting color. The next feature is new-ish, and it's one I'm really excited about. In the past, appointment schedules would only look at your main calendar for conflicts. Now you can select multiple calendars to check for conflicts. Calendar won't create an appointment slot if you already have something scheduled on any of the calendars you select. Another newish feature is the ability to add a co-host. Anyone listed as a co-host will automatically be sent an invite to the booked appointments. However, this does not check this person's calendar for availability. For their availability to be considered, you would need to be 1, subscribe to their calendar, and 2, check their calendar under the Check for Availability section. Next, we can customize event information. Your booking page photo and name will pull from the account you're currently logged into, so make sure you're creating your appointment schedule under the appropriate account. Under location, you can select Google Meet, which will attach a link to the calendar invite, an in-person location, a phone call, or specify later. I'm going to choose the Google Meet option, so that will give parents the option to meet virtually. I could also set this to none, then set up a Google Meet link on an as-needed basis. In the description box, provide a brief description of the appointment. This is the information that will appear on the booking page and in the confirmation email. I'm going to include a short description of what I would cover in my parent-teacher conference. Next, the booking form allows you to customize what information you want to collect. I want first name, last name, email address. Then I'm going to add an item asking whether they want to meet in person or virtually. Then I'm going to require that question be answered. Finally, I want to set up reminders for myself and the person booking the appointment. I want to send an email reminder 1 day before, and then let's send another reminder 1 hour before the conference. Once you hit save on your appointment schedule, you can then click to open your booking page to see what others will see when you send out the link. To share your booking page, click on an appointment slot on your calendar, click share, copy link. You can also grab the share link from your booking page. You can then send this link out through email or however you regularly communicate with your families. When someone books a time, it will automatically be removed from the booking page, and an appointment will be added to your calendar and theirs. It's also going to take care of automatically sending out reminders about those appointment times so you don't have to. One of the reasons I love using Google is because of their product integration. It makes it so much easier to stay organized and increases my productivity because I'm not jumping around to different workspaces. Earlier, I showed you how the Calendar Gmail integration allows you to create events from your email. But I also want to show you a couple quick integrations with Keep and Tasks. If you're in your calendar and have an event open, you can click on the Keep icon in the productivity sidebar and create a note for yourself about the event. When you create a note from this location, Keep will add a smart chip to your note, creating a direct link back to the calendar event. I might use this if I'm creating a checklist of things I need to do before a meeting. Now I can quickly reference the event or the event agenda by clicking on the smart chip instead of having to search for the event on my calendar. You can also quickly assign time-based due dates to your tasks while in Google Calendar. Simply open up Tasks in your sidebar, then click and drag a task onto your calendar. You can then easily change the due date of a task by dragging and dropping the task to a new time. Finally, I want to talk to you about a few extensions and add-ons you can use to help your calendar work even harder for you. The first extension is Event Merge for Google Calendar. This Chrome extension visually merges the same event on multiple Google Calendars into one event. For example, if you have the same event on your work calendar, your team calendar, and on a coworker's calendar, these events can quickly clutter up your calendar and make it hard to read. This extension merges all of those separate events into one and gives it stripes with all the individual calendars' colors. Here's what it looks like on my personal calendar. The second extension is Multiple Calendar Selector for Google Cal. This extension allows you to set up calendar viewing profiles. For example, maybe for Profile 1, you want to see the calendars you use on a daily basis. Then for Profile 2, you want to see bookable common areas like auditorium, gym, and playground to see what's available when. Using profiles saves you time checking and unchecking which calendars you want to see. Finally, if you use Google Classroom, you need to try out this add-on from Alice Keeler. Delete Calendars allows you to mass delete and unsubscribe from any calendar, but specifically your Google Classroom calendars. Every time you create a Google Classroom, a calendar is created with it as well. Even after the class is archived, that calendar still lives on in Google Calendar. Before, you would have to access the individual calendar settings for each, go to Settings and Sharing, scroll all the way down to the bottom, and press Delete. One by one. Enter Alice Keeler. I'll drop the link to the Delete Cal template in the description below. To get started, you're simply going to click on the link and make a copy. Then locate Delete Classroom Calendars menu next to the Help menu. If it doesn't appear right away, that's okay. It did take mine a minute to load. The first step is to select List Calendars. This will create a list of all the calendars associated with your Google account. As you can see, I have quite a few calendars connected to my account. In column C, you'll see the word No. For any calendar you want to delete, you'll type the word delete, all lowercase, over the word No. Then go back to the menu and select Delete Calendar. When prompted, click Yes that you typed the word delete. If your calendar was successfully deleted, you'll see the word deleted in all caps in column D. If you don't have permission to delete that calendar, it will say try unsubscribing instead. You could then type the word unsubscribe into column C and run the program again. Be careful though, because once you delete your calendar, it's gone. And there you have it. You are now a Google Calendar Pro. I hope this video has given you the knowledge and confidence to use Google Calendar to its fullest potential. Feel free to share your Google Calendar success stories in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, please share with a teacher friend. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe so you'll be notified each time we post new content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.